Hello students, this is Mrs. Jones again. I hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to talk about how to make things measurable or decimals measurable. Sometimes when we use calculator we get a funky decimal like you did in the last lesson when we were converting feet into inches and centimeters into inches. You would get these weird long decimals. Well, how in the world do you measure that in fractions or in a ruler? For example, this. How would I actually measure that? All right. What we're going to be able to do today is find the closest measurable fraction to that decimal. And it's just by following a process. And the directions are right here at the top for this first example. It says take off the whole number of feet and multiply the decimal by 12 to convert that part into inches. So for this example here, we're taking off this 12 and we're going to multiply just the decimal, where that is going to, times 12. Because this example here is in feet, we need to multiply it by 12 to turn that part into inches. So if I do that, times 12, I get, I'm going to zoom this in so I can write it better, 3.9576, and that is now inches. Our next directions say take off, or the whole number part of that answer is the whole number of inches. And then we multiply that decimal by 16. So let me backtrack a little bit. And remember when we took that 12 off at the beginning? That 12 is the whole number of feet in our answer. And then in the second step, we're going to take off the 3, and that 3 is going to be the whole number of inches in our answer. When we take off the 3, that's going to leave us with the decimal 0.9576. And we're going to multiply that by 16. And why by 16? Because that is the closest measurable unit that we have, 1/16 of an inch. 0.9576 times 16, and we get 15.3216. All right. If we could measure to a 32nd, we would actually multiply it by 32, just so you're aware of that. The last thing that we do is that we would round this number to either a 15 or a 16. I'm thinking that rounds to a 15, so that means that it would be a 15/16. And we would reduce if we could, but in this case we can't reduce it. So that 15 would stay 15/16. All right. Let me do another example here because that was kind of a large chunk to digest. For this example, again, the next example, we're starting in feet. So we're going to chop off the 7. The 7 is the whole number of feet in your answer. And we have to take this 0.498 times 12 because we need to make it from feet into inches. 0.498 times 12 is 5.976, and it is now inches. In our next step, we're going to take off that 5 The 5 is the whole number of inches in our answer. And we're going to take just the decimal and multiply it by 16. Again, if you could do 30 seconds, you would go ahead and multiply it by 32. Now this one is going to be interesting. This comes out to 15.616. And I said in the last step, when we do the fractional part, we round that to either a 15 or a 16. This would actually round to 16, so it would be 16/16. But what is 16/16? 16/16 is a whole nother inch, right? So I'm going to go back and I'm going to adjust this 5 and make it into a 6. And that is our closest measurable fraction, or closest measurable distance. Okay. I think I'm going to switch gears and not switch gears, but come and do these examples here on this side, because these smaller measurements are more of the things that you would actually experience in automotive. This next example says 3.284 inches. So we're not starting with feet, so we don't need to do this first step of the process. We would go straight to the multiplying the decimal by 16. All right, so we would chop off the 3. The 3 becomes the whole number of inches, and we're going to take this decimal, 0.284, and we're going to multiply it by 16. 0.284 times 16. I get 4.544. That's going to round to a 5, and it would be 5/16. So this would, your best measurable fraction would be 3 5/16 of an inch. Let me do another example here. This next one is also starting in inches. So this first step about multiplying it by 12, we don't have to do. What we are going to do, we're going to chop off this 9, and we're going to take the decimal, 0.24, and multiply it by 16 so that we can start getting that fraction of the inch. I get 3.84, which would round to 4, and it would be 4/16, but that's not the best way to write 4/16. 4/16 could be reduced, right, down to 1/4. So our best answer for this would be 9 1/4. All right. I don't want the video to be getting too long, so I'm going to jump down to the bottom here. We have just this decimal inch. So that means that we don't do the multiplying by 12 because we're not in feet. When we go to chop off a whole number, we don't actually have a whole number to chop off, but we still need to take that decimal, 0.6859, and multiply it by 16. Is 10.9744, which would round to 11, right? and it would be 11/16. Could we reduce 11/16? No, so it would stay 11/16. All right. Now, some students would say, because we're in the age of calculators and everybody wants to do a little cheat thing, they said, well, my calculator has an F to D button on it. Well, let's just say, if I put 0.6859 and hit my F to D button on my calculator, I'm doing it right now, there is no fraction that is exactly 0.6859. It's not coming up with an answer at all. So my calculator, the F to D button, is kind of failing me at this point. You have to do it this way in order to get it into what's called a measurable fraction. Sometimes if you do a decimal, like this one, the example right above here, if I put that in my calculator and hit the F to D button, I get 553 over 1,000, which mathematically that is the correct fraction, but can you measure that? No, we can't measure that. This whole process that we talked about today is making them into fractions that we can measure with some kind of rule or some kind of measuring device. All right. Thank you. Please refer back to this page, this video, as you are doing the Google quiz. Make sure that you hit submit on the Google quiz, and then also make sure that you hit turn in on the top right hand corner of the Google assignment. Please feel free to email me at cjones@ictc.edu if you have any questions or problems. All right? Okay, thank you. I hope you have a great day. Bye.